Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Stevens, and this is the Psychology to Live By podcast. Imagine you're holding a newborn baby. You're looking down into its unblinking eyes. You smell that unmistakable baby freshness. Unless you're psychologically damaged goods, you'd be having feelings of love, if not awe, for this new human being. What you wouldn't be doing is withholding your love until the baby did something to warrant it, like reciting Wordsworth, solving an equation, or telling a really funny joke. That'd be nuts. But we apply this withholding of love without a second thought to ourselves, not loving ourselves unless we do something better, unless we improve ourselves. Even worse, we may actively dislike and castigate ourselves for not being good enough. So, our theme today is unimproving, getting off the self-improvement bandwagon. And this will be in two parts. Part one now will lay out the problems with self-improvement, and part two will suggest some practical antidotes. So our everyday intuition around my baby in arms example is that, of course, the baby just is lovable. Very few people these days give credence to the superstition called original sin. We naturally and intelligently avoid the category mistake of confusing a baby's being with their doing. Instinctively, we value a person's being as inherently precious. But we don't seem to apply the same rules to ourselves. How come? What's the stain within us, the original sin, so to speak? Well, no doubt with respect to babies, there are evolutionary triggers designed around baby features in humans, puppies, kittens, etc., to reliably evoke awe, altruistic feelings and love. And these wear off as we become, and it has to be said, less cute. What else happens as we get older? Do we become less lovable? Has our essence changed, our fundamental humanity? Well, no, of course not. This unconditional loving tapers off to be replaced by a calculus of achievement and comparison. And this has been hugely exaggerated in recent decades by neoliberalism, emphasising as it does individualism, endless personal productivity and competition. An additional cause is that we are aware from an early age of our complete dependence on others for our survival. This pertains especially to our parents, who literally keep us alive. If these giants frown at us, yell in our vicinity, look angry, or just fail to show up when we want them, terror is a common response as toddlers. Of course, this is inevitable, as parents can't possibly always be available, always be happy, and so on. So what is the child to do? Well, it seeks to improve its behaviour or appearance in order to get your attention and your love. Well, that's both wise and practical. So maybe the child learns to cry less, or perhaps cry more. They may try being oppositional or being compliant. It all depends on their personality, the context, and the results of their experiments. Which improvement works best? But in any case, the lie is thereby swallowed. There is something unlovable, some original sin at the centre of our being, that we need this kind of fundamental improvement in order to garner esteem from others and thereby prosper. Therein begins a life of improvement and fundamental insecurity. It's what I call the grand delusion. We are pretty sure there's something ugly within, that if others were to see it, they would be repulsed. And it's not only our immediate caregivers, of course, it's the whole village from which we require esteem. Our dependency doesn't go away as we age. As George Kelly, the author of Personal Construct Psychology, put it, as we age, we disperse our dependency needs, much like a diversified portfolio in the stock market. This is a kind of ongoing insurance we take out to increase the likelihood that we will survive and hopefully thrive. So we're deeply wired and indeed must play this game in some form. And this can bring out the worst of us, especially on social media. Images are obsessively filtered and airbrushed. Unrealistic standards become normal. Influencers promote deeply curated myths about their lives, and we strive to emulate the impossible and so feel chronically deficient. We put on faces to meet the faces that we meet, to slightly misquote T.S. Eliot. We are on the self-improvement roundabout. One of the terrible ironies of this is that it's these curated presentations of self that may actually stop people getting close to us and prevent us from relaxing into simple, authentic being. They actually make us less attractive. Now, I'm no Freudian, but it's these defenses that become ugly. Think of the person who brags or who projects their neuroses onto others, whose stress stresses others, and so on and so on. So this universal insecurity about self feeds a massive self-help industry that both promotes and capitalizes on these wired-in and socially amplified imperatives. While there are occasional gems in the rough, much of the self-help industry is based on two basic mistakes. One, that there is a fundamental flaw in all of us, and two, that there is a self in there that needs improving. The pursuit of this mirage causes untold suffering. As the gap widens between our honest self-appraisal and our projected, perfected self, so does our vulnerability and distress deepen. As with obsessive hand washing to ward off feared bacteria and germs, each successful improvement temporarily reduces our anxiety, but locks us ever more deeply into compulsive self-improvement. So what can be done? We'll come back to this in part 2, where we'll explore antidotes to this endless life on stage, this acting out of an impossible idealized self. But I'll give you the sense of the solution here. It's by being far more realistic about who we are and doing things for enjoyment, not for esteem. You've been listening to the Psychology to Live By podcast. If you'd like to know more, my website is www.drchris.life. And if you like the podcast, share it with people you like so they can like it too.